The objectives that I would like for you to meet after completing the letter of inquiry include to understand the purpose for a letter of inquiry, to understand the organization for a letter of inquiry, and to understand the format for a letter of inquiry. What is a letter of inquiry? It is an unsolicited letter to an organization inquiring about its products or services. Unsolicited means that the company did not ask you to write about a product or service, but you are curious and you like to know information about a particular product or service. For your letter of inquiry, you are free to contact any organization about any particular product or service. Why is a letter of inquiry important to business documents? Well, there are several reasons. First, the letter of inquiry establishes communication between the reader and the writer, and with the establishment of this communication, more business possibly could grow from this relationship. Also, the letter of inquiry establishes a new customer base. The letter of inquiry states clearly and specifically the information or materials you want. So that is an important goal for you to achieve, to know exactly what you want to know about a particular product or service and why you need the information. Lastly, the inquiry tells the recipient why you have chosen him or her as a source for the information. And that will help you ensure that you are writing in the you attitude. Your letter of inquiry comes in 4 sections or paragraphs. So the first paragraph would be an introduction, and you would explain the source of the inquiry. So in other words, what particular service or product are you inquiring? Okay, so make sure that you include, if applicable, the model number, the correct name, any item that identifies the product. After the introductory paragraph, you are going to include a sentence that will introduce your list of 4 concrete open questions. So you need at least 4 questions, specific questions that you want to know about that particular product or service. And an open question means that you phrase it in such a way that you give the respondent the opportunity to really explain his or her answers. So, in order for you to ensure that you are writing open questions, begin your questions with the words who, what, why, where, when, and how. And when you begin a question with those words, you know then that you are writing an open question. The third section is a paragraph that provides details about your request to substantiate the request. So in other words, for this section, think in terms of additional information as far as how you intend to use the information. It can also include details about you and how information about you pertains to the request, things of that nature. Now, the one thing that you don't want to include is you don't want to indicate that this is a student's assignment. You want to handle this from the standpoint that you are a consumer and you want to know about this product, because indeed you are a consumer and you have freedom as far as the company and the product, so make sure that you choose something that you really want to know more about that particular product or service. The last paragraph will be your goodwill ending. You want to make sure that within this paragraph you include a concrete response date. So the concrete response date for you can be 5 weeks from now. Let's say 5 to 6 weeks from now, and that should give the reader enough time to respond to your request, because you want to remember that you're actually going to send your letter of inquiry, and in class we're going to discuss the response that you received. So those are the 4 major sections for your letter of inquiry. These 4 sections make up the body of your letter. For your letter of inquiry, you're going to use the AMS, which is the Administrative Management Society style for a letter. The example for the AMS style appears in Appendix A. So you want to make sure that you find this example. And really, you're just going to use this example for format only. Of course, you're not going to use this example for text. So, in other words, you're not going to replace. The only words that you're going to replace will not be the company name and the product and things like that. You're not going to do that, because if you did, that would be plagiarism, and that would be an automatic F on the assignment. So you're not going to do that at all. All that you're going to do is use the AMS format that appears in your appendix, Appendix A, for formats only. And even then, you're going to make a few adjustments to the format. So for example, the section for the questions, we have 4 areas here, which is fine, but the text is not phrased as questions, and I would like for you to phrase the information as questions. Okay, so again, just for formats only, you're not going to use the text, because that would be plagiarism.